Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olson.
And welcome to this edition of After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me, as always,
Eric Olson.
Eric, hey, last night's show, though, talk about positive, awesome feedback. Thanks, everybody, for the welcoming back of the criminal code, and it was a very good show. Really, it was
Really
a blast to do. And yeah, we will do our best to get that individual. If you download the podcast, I don't want to give it away right here. I want you to go back and download the podcast. Last night's available, Blog Talk Radio, Spreaker, Podomatic, iHeartRadio, all these other places you can download this show. And it was a really interesting, thought-provoking show. It's going to make you almost want to cry, though, at some points, because it's what they went through, this individuals. So
Terrible.
it was terrible. So check that show out if you have not checked a criminal code show out yet. We're the only show, as far as I'm aware, anywhere that has an actual practicing forensic psychologist for the state of California. And she's a bigwig over there, by the way. She's not just some forensic psychologist. She is almost in that state the forensic psychologist. And she happens to be our co-host as well, and that's Clarissa Cole, Dr. Clarissa Cole. And so you get the insight of the doctor right there and then as well, what she believes is going on. So we are the only show that offers that, the kind of full spectrum true crime.
Absolutely. And what was so fun about last night's show, just besides having good old Clarissa back again after the whole summer, we didn't know we were going to take off as long as we did, but we were off the whole summer from the true crime show. So it's very nice to have her back, and just she's such a sweet and interesting person, besides being super smart and insightful and perceptive. But this particular episode, what was so cool about it is there's a huge psychological and obviously true crime aspect to it, but there was also a really interesting paranormal aspect to it, and that is open-ended. We don't know. There is no conclusion if, in fact, their paranormal was involved in this case. So check that out.
Exactly. You're going to want to listen to if you're a fan of paranormal or true crime or both, like most of us. That's definitely one you're going to want to check out. Come up with your own conclusion on that as well. Like Eric said, there is no definitive answer here. So your thoughts are just as valid as anyone else's on that case as far as the phenomena goes. So check that out. Give that a download. Give it a listen. You're going to love it. Eric, have you ever been to Six Flags?
I have. I've been
do you like them?
Several of them, I believe.
Yeah. Well, do you like them? I've never been to one, so tell me what they're like. Are they kind of like the seedy Walt Disney World, or are they a decent place to go?
Oh, they're not exactly so much a theme park as they are a ride place. They're more like Cedar Point here, which is, in Sandusky, Ohio, which is the roller coaster capital of the world. There are some thematic elements, but it's more about the rides.
Sure.
So it's really just like a big, huge amusement park is what they are. And then they tie in a little bit to the history. That's what Six Flags are. It was, I think the first one wasn't it Six Flags over Texas?
I believe you're correct. I think
that was the first one. And there actually were, historically, 6 different sovereign over Texas. And so that's where the name comes from. Then as they acquired or built other parks in other states, they still kept the name of Six Flags, though I don't think it's necessarily applicable. I don't think there's been Six Flags over Georgia. There's one there. And I think there's one in one of the Carolinas. Sure. Anyway, they're fun. It's not so much a conceptual thing like a Disneyland or even a Universal.
Gotcha.
It's more like a big amusement park.
Well, would you like to win $300 prize at a Six Flags if you had the opportunity to do so?
Sure.
Well, in St. Louis, Missouri, they're offering a $300 prize in exchange for spending 30 hours in a coffin.
$300?
That comes to $10 an hour.
30 hours in a coffin?
And that only comes up to $10 an hour, right?
Maybe add not one, but 2 zeros.
So 30,000 would be really where you'd be at.
30,000 would be my floor.
That I thought, wow, $10 an hour for 30 hours. That's really, really low. I mean, the guy sweeping up the parking lot's getting more than that. And in a coffin, and this coffin is really tiny. It's 2 foot by 7 foot.
Man, that's an insult.
It is.
$300? Come on.
I know.
Yeah, at least 3,000. At least then it's like, well, all right, yeah. It's 30 hours out of my life in a coffin, but I mean, I'll come away with 3,000.
Well,
I think $1,000 an hour is the way to go on this.
I would think so, but that'd be $30,000, and I don't see them springing for that. But 300 is a little low.
They're not.
That's pretty low ball in it right there. That's a little low if you ask. This guy, you'd have to stay in there if anyone listening wants to go try this. At 1 p.m. October 13th from 7 p.m. October 14th, you have to last the entire time in this coffin. Nice. But you will be permitted short bathroom breaks every hour and will also be served free meals inside your temporary accommodations.
So in other words, it's really worth $400.
Really, if you live it up and you can order whatever you want off the menu, which I imagine it's hot dogs and Pringles is the best thing on their menu. You know, it'd be hard to eat $100 in hot dogs.
I believe they have. I actually have not been. It's really been quite some time. I think the last Six Flags I went to was in Georgia, because it was when we were in Atlanta, and that was in the mid-'90s, so it's that long ago. So I haven't been in a long, long time. But I think even back then, they had reasonably varied fare. They had a little better than average food. So you could probably spend $100 over that 30 hours in food, but still,
and then spend the rest of therapy when you're done, because being in a coffin for 30 hours might mess your head a little bit.
Well, I would say they should be very careful about who they allow to participate. We surely don't want any claustrophobic individuals going into catatonic states.
I think, though, if you're claustrophobic and you are, and you take them up on this challenge, shame on you.
Yeah, well, for $300, right?
Yeah, for $300. Now, update on this: the challenge has proven so popular that it has now been rolled out to other parks as well. So, other locations, but St. Louis was the first one.
$300
for 30 hours in the coffin. I think that's incredibly low.
I think it's preposterously. I mean, seriously. I mean, at least $100 an hour.
Yeah, it breaks down, like I said, $10 an hour to be in this coffin. I just don't think I could do it. I don't know that I could bring myself to do so.
It wouldn't be worth the discomfort. It wouldn't be worth my time. I would rather do anything else for 30 hours.
That is true. Well, a lot of times in this show, moving along here, we make fun of the Flat Earth Society. I have gone out of my way to maybe poke fun at them a little bit. Now, Live Science is coming on the bandwagon as well. Curious of how they explain the equinox. The Flat Earthers.
Or any number of 1,000 other
Or how do they
phenomena.
explain eclipses? See, if everything is round, including the moon, because,
right. It's flat.
How do they explain the eclipse? And Live Science, they dive into this, and the upshot of this article is quite funny because they're, very tongue-in-cheek, but the upshot is these people are nuts. They're delusional, is their upshot of saying these folks who believe the world is actually flat and science is a conspiracy. The equinox can be tricky to explain for them.
I gotta tell you, it is just so astonishing to me because I guess they're really, truly, no kidding, not fooling around, not publicity stunt, are people who truly believe this. I can understand. I don't agree, of course, but I can understand on the fringes of science or very long-term type things. Like I can even almost understand at least the notion that that humans have not actively been involved with climate change. I don't want to get into that because there are so many variables, right? So I mean, I can at least wrap my head around how someone would deny that or at least question it.
Sure,
I can certainly see questioning, but with every single piece, not only of scientific evidence, but just simple common sense, screaming out, the Earth is a sphere.
You know
how in this day and age can people genuinely believe it? I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
Well, the number one answer, if you are a flat earther, is this: the sun is really, really small. Okay. They say in the most common and most popular answer given by the flat earthers, the North Pole sits roughly at the center of the planetary disk, while Antarctica forms a gigantic ice wall along the planet's circumference. The equator forms a ring halfway around the two. The sun is incredibly small, and therefore it gives the illusion of us orbiting the sun.
Okay, let's look at that for a moment. Let's assume every single bit of that is true.
Okay.
Where does the gravity come from then? If the sun is very, very small, where does the gravity come from that holds the entire solar system together?
That's a good question, Eric, and they are unable to answer that this time.
We'll get back to you on that.
We'll get back to you on that one because we haven't figured out a good way to explain our way out of that one. But yeah, they are still banging the old drum of the flat earth. And I have reached out to several of these people from the Flat Earth Society, and they do not want to come on the show. They refuse to do so, obviously because we have not been the most hospitable, maybe, people to talk to on this.
No, because we think they're delusional lunatics. That's why.
Yeah. We almost had the Mad Dog guy with his jet thing that he was going to go up in the air with. We almost had him to come on, and then he heard one of our shows where I called one of us called Flat Earthers idiots, and that was it. He wanted nothing to do with it. So, I don't blame him, I guess. Hostile crowd, don't want to fall into that. That whole
I don't
thing.
think we would be hostile. We would.
Oh, I would. I would say, were you born stupid, or did you hit your head, or what? What happened?
I would just keep asking questions because eventually they can't answer them all. Because you know why? They're wrong.
They are definitely wrong. Eric, how do you feel about parasites?
I vote no on parasites.
You ever had a parasite, and children do not count?
No, I don't think I have. But speaking of children, my older son, the archaeologist, he picked up a weird, gross, they're called fly bots, I think, or bot flies.
Oh yeah, that's a nasty one right there.
Awful. He got it in his knee, I think. It was in his leg somewhere when he was in Costa Rica. No, Belize. He was in Belize. While he was still in school, he did a term he did a period down there and was doing archaeological things, and it was fascinating. He really loved the country and fascinating, interesting environment and really interesting people, kind of not what you'd expect in Central America. But the environment, the weather, it's so hot and it is so humid that you get all kinds of terrible bugs and parasites and everything.
Yeah,
and as careful as he was, he picked one up in his knee, his leg. I think it took 6 months to get rid of it.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard. Now, there used to be a show, I want to say on Animal Planet. I think it was called The Monster Inside of Me. I forget.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know what you mean.
Whereas about all those strange parasites. Well, this story, listen to this. A doctor shocked to find spider spinning webs inside man's ear.
Oh. Oh, my.
A Chinese man who checked himself into the hospital because the pounding sound in his left ear that would not go away was shocked to discover what the noise was being caused by a spider spinning webs deep inside his ear canal.
Oh, my God.
Oh, and they show pictures here, man. There's a busy spider in that ear. Look at that thing just to go.
How long do they think it had been in there?
Dr. Chu Shalom Chief.
Is that a phonetic? Is that a phonetic pronunciation?
No, it's Dr. Chu Shulin, deputy chief physician at the Department of Audiology at the Dalian Central Hospital in Dalian, China. I know I'm destroying that, and we do have Chinese listeners, so do bear with me, and I do apologize. Recently told reporters that the unnamed patient, a man in his 60s, had come to the hospital to complain about a drum-like sound and a tingling sensation in his left ear. After listening to the patient, the doctor decided to investigate, but already suspected that a cricket or a fly insect had somehow become stuck in the man's ear. They didn't expect to find a spider weaving cobwebs.
Oh, God, that's so appalling.
Isn't that disgusting? Oh, could you imagine
Super
that?
disgusting.
Could you imagine that? Oh, that reminds me of the story about the guy that had the cockroach in his ear.
Oh, there's so many.
Oh, yeah. This guy,
appalling tales.
shared this with me. He had a cockroach. He emailed the show a while ago, and I never got a chance to share this story. The guy had a cockroach in his ear. And he could hear it just gnashing away inside of his ear. So he went to the doctor, and he said, hey, I got a cockroach in my ear. And they, of course, killed the cockroach with something. They injected with some type of pesticide. He said it started moving crazy fast, his ear, like it was trying to burrow deeper. And it got louder and louder, and then it finally died, of course.
Oh, my God.
But could you imagine having something like that in your head?
Well, first, there's the actual physical discomfort. So that's one thing, and I'm sure it was very uncomfortable. Your ear canal isn't all that big.
No.
And it gets smaller and smaller and smaller the farther it goes in. And so, it doesn't take something very large, I would think, to really cause discomfort in there. So that's the one side. But then the other side is just the concept of it.
I know. It kind of reminds me of that Kink song. Got a little green man in my head. Or yellow man in my head. You know the song. Paranoia will destroy you.
Yes, that's
yeah.
Great. Good job on that one. Yeah, that's a later Kink song.
That's a great tune right there. And I forget the name, the actual proper name. Do you sing that one when you perform?
No.
You should.
I love the Kinks. I really do.
I know. Great band. And but we're getting back to parasites really quickly.
Yeah, we better.
Another one, though, the most common in the United States, though, believe it or not, is still a good old tapeworm. I was doing some research before I read this article, and the tapeworm is still relevant. It still comes up more or less in your what they call your more rural, economically depressed areas. The tapeworm is still an issue right here in the good old United States.
Well, sure. If you're susceptible to it and you are, I don't know what exactly draws that in, but you got to make sure everything's very clean, and you have to make sure you are totally up on your hygiene, shall we say, and that you take care of things and make sure what you eat is clean as well. Because there's parasites everywhere. There's parasites in food. Parasites in the dirt. There's parasites in plants and trees, and they're
everywhere.
You gotta take care of yourself and pay attention to yourself. If something feels off, get it checked out right away. Don't wait till you're hearing the spider spin webs in your head.
Yeah, it's not Charlotte either. I can guarantee you that one right there. She's not looking for Wilbur. Really quickly here, we still have in our area, the Midwest, including Ohio is included in this, as ticks are a huge parasite. Oh, yeah. But Lyme's disease is on the rise exponentially in these areas in the Midwest.
Yeah, there's been a
And
huge uptick, no pun intended.
Yeah,
in ticks.
it's been, that is actually our number one parasite right now for our area. I'm looking at this article quickly. It's through the CDC where it breaks down the worst parasites in the United States, and of course Lyme's disease, the deer tick, is sitting number one, number two right after tapeworm, but then there's also the brain eating amoeba. You don't want that. That thing gets in your head, it just eats the hell right out of your brain.
Golly. Where does that come from?
Water. It comes from stagnant water. Warm, stagnant water. So more or less, you're talking like the South, Florida, areas like that would be have warm, stagnant water. That's where they seem to thrive. And then people go swimming, and next thing you know, it's eating your brain.
Oh, my God. Yeah, there's in fact, maybe one of the tweets that we get to in the second half hour here, there's a museum in... where is that? It was either China or Japan. Now I'm going to have to go back and look. But anyway, not in the U.S. There is a museum where it's all about brains. And they have many, many, many actual brains, human brains, in the museum. And you can even touch several of them. You can hands-on touch the brain.
Have you ever touched a brain?
I have.
Yeah, I did as well when I was in college in biology.
Yeah,
human brain, and you touched it, but you had gloves on.
Slimy.
Yeah.
It's not slimy. It's kind of more spongy.
Yeah, and then of course this individual had dementia. They're showing us in biology, and they're showing in a microscope the pores that develop in your brain that caused that. So that was actually quite interesting and quite sad all at the same time. You know, while I was getting ready for the show, I stumbled upon the trailer for Bohemian Rhapsody, the film.
Aha, how's it look?
It is looking good. It's not coming out, of course, until November, the first weekend in November. But I am really looking forward to seeing this film.
I've heard mixed things about it. The only real negative thing I've heard is there's concern from the community, and yeah, you can't blame them, that his clearly he was bisexual, and that element of his life apparently is downplayed.
Okay, so they show it in the trailer. They touch on. I don't know if you've seen the official trailer or not.
I have not yet.
It seems that they touch on that a little bit, and I was kind of surprised when they chose that Rami Malek to be the lead. I really was, because I didn't know if he could pull it off, but watching the trailer, he nails it. I mean, he's in the trailer anyway.
A really good actor, so I'm sure that's it. Plus, he kind of looks like him, not exactly, but kind of.
Enough makeup and a mustache, he kind of had it done.
Exactly.
Gets it done. Now, you being a musician and Queen being a big influence in most musicians' lives, did you like the song Bohemian Rhapsody?
I hate the song.
Oh, you do? Oh, my God, because they're just calling that thing the number one Queen track ever.
No, hate it. Always hated it. It's too jokey. It's too self-referential. It's like, it's so, look at me, look at me, look at me. And it's the worst. It's the stuff that I hate about diva singers, where a diva singer, and there's different meanings of the word diva. Like, certainly Aretha Franklin was a diva, but she's a great diva. Okay, so that's a different kind of thing. What I'm talking about as far as diva singers is those who feel the song is there to display how wonderful a singer they are. Whereas my philosophy, and the singers that I like best, although of course I do love Aretha Franklin, are the ones who their voice is there in the service of the song. Mm-hmm. It's completely the opposite. And this whole diva mentality, it's very self-aggrandizing, and frankly, it's kind of masturbatory. And that's what that song, Bohemian Rhapsody, sounds like to me. Now, that sounds worse than I
was going to say, well, you're not a Freddie fan? I mean,
let me explain the context. All right, I was a huge Queen fan, their first 3 albums. And that came out on their 4th album, I believe, okay? And so they evolved over those 3 albums, or they transformed as their style got broader and broader and broader. They started off just as this really kind of weird, cool, melodic, hard rock.
Kind of like a Rush. Kind of like a...
Kinda.
Yeah, kind of like an experimental Rush type band, right?
Yeah, melodic hard rock. They still had the harmonies, but it was just a very different feel. So by the time, Night at the Opera, which is the 4th one, by the time that came out, they had included a lot of other styles, and kind of the British. So many British bands feel a need to go back in British music history, so they bring in that music hall style and kind of a vaudevillian kind of thing, and what they call trad jazz. Anyway, you start hearing all of that, and I didn't really think that fit very well. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't like some of the songs that don't fit the hard rock, standard that they started with. But this one, Bohemian Rhapsody, it's such a mishmash, and it's such a studio only. They can't really do that live and not have it sound like the recording.
Yeah.
It's a studio concoction, and it's so arch, and it just bugged me. And it seemed like closing the circle all the way back around to where they started, but in defiance of themselves. Plus, at the time when that came out, I was just I think I was a freshman in college, so really, really into music, listening to music all the time. I think I was already at the college radio station, DJing there and all that. And so I heard it over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and it just, that was part of it. I just couldn't stand it.
I used to work at the classic rock
So
station,
there you go.
And so I kind of got the same feeling about it. Just, it's overplayed and overhyped for what it is, but that's just me. Really quickly, still more movies to cover. The Nun is not doing well. They're having none of the Nun moviegoers. It's 27% rotten on Rotten Potatoes. Tomatoes. No one likes it. It's made $10.1 million. That's it at the box office of its over $100 million budget. So
Nun? Wait a minute, I thought The Nun was a huge hit.
No, twice.
I didn't think.
Yeah, go to Rotten Tomatoes right now. It says right there it's 10.1 million it's made, and it is 27% to the rotten side on the rotten meter, and people are not liking it. Audience score is only 43% liked it.
I have heard all of the critical things that you said. I've heard all of that. I knew it hadn't done all that well as far as reviews and even with but all right, so I'm at Box Office Mojo. I wonder why it's saying that. Box Office, it's made it 103 million.
I'm over here at Rotten Tomatoes.
103 million.
And it's showing me 10.1 million, and it's not telling me in the span it made it, so I didn't know if it was in the complete run or if that was the total.
As of today, 103 million. It's considered a huge hit.
Then it will end up, well, it might be a huge hit financially, but I've also heard it's a dog of a movie.
Yes, I agree with that. I've heard that over and over again. Anything I've said about it, once it came out, I've heard a lot of people, just really, really not responding that well, not going to go back. Yeah, I mean, worldwide, it's almost 300 million.
And Predator is not doing much better.
I heard that was bad.
Yeah, see, I want to see. See, I'm a fan of the Predator franchise. I thought that it had potential, but when they did the Alien versus Predator, I thought those movies stunk, and they could have done so much better with that property. Chose not to. I was hoping they would resurrect themselves. The new Predator movie, like the reboot, in essence, is going to going on now. All the critics, all my friends that have seen it that were big, hardcore Predator fans are saying, "Yeah, don't, yeah, just let that one go."
I think that one is sunk like a stone. Interestingly, though, about The Nun, like I said, I had heard all the same things you're saying about from the critical side and people. Theater goers not responding that well, but for whatever reason, a ton of them have gone. Yeah. And so, it's considered a huge hit in terms of box office anyway.
Well, it's made enough to make a sequel. And that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to keep them pumping them out until people say, "Yeah, we're kind of sick of the Conjuring." That universe. Give us our Warren, our Lorraine, and of course, give us the Warrens. Give us the Warrens. We want them. We don't want the side crap. And that's what's going to end up happening because that fared much better. The Conjuring films, Ed and Lorraine,
they've been well received.
Fared way better than these offshoots. I also know the Annabelle films did not do all the greatest either, and there's 2 of them, and I'm sure there will be a 3rd at some point. We will have to see. We got to run a break. We come back. We're going to hit your America's Most Haunted headlines. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. Otherwise, we'll make you see the nun.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrin Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrin Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olson.
And I have to make a retraction here. Eric is correct. It's made 100 and what? The Nun?
Well, almost 300 million worldwide, and about a third of that is U.S.
Over here, Rotten Tomatoes, if you go look at it, is very convoluted in the way they do it. They do not give you the full picture of how that film is doing, which I'm surprised, because Rotten Tomatoes is supposed to be the gold standard, as it were, of how to judge a movie. I mean, that's where everybody goes, and that's what they always advertise on DVD covers. How well it did on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm surprised that they don't show more information on their website.
Yeah, I agree. It is not. I had to really look at it. The figure that you quoted, it's right there, no question about it. But what they don't make clear is that's just what it brought in the most recent weekend.
Yeah.
So it's already been out, a few weeks. So obviously it goes down week by week.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes, shame on you for not being more upfront with what you're writing and what you're putting out there. That's just me. Shame on you.
It was not clear. I agree.
It was not clear. Okay, it's time for America's Most Haunted Headlines, brought to you by America's Most Haunted. Visit us at americas-most-haunted.com, your one-stop shop for all things paranormal. Now it being the October season, now is the time to get on the America's Most Haunted bandwagon, as it were. Not only can you go check out past shows, upcoming shows, but you get to listen live, plus read some super killer cool articles written by Mr. Eric Olson right over there. So you're going to want to check that out. All of that cool goodness, all that scary goodness and Amazemo over there at America's-Most-Haunted.com. Now I want everyone to fire up your Twitter. Go on over to AM Haunted. Search out at America's Most Haunted. You can follow along even if you're not a Twitterite. Just come on, look at everything.
You may. And while you're there, hey, why sign up? What the heck? Why not?
Now I can take a breath. There.
You may breathe at will. All right. So yes, the reason to come on over and take a look physically on whatever screen you may possess is you can see the pictures and you can follow the links. And so much of it is visual, so you might as well see what we're talking about. Twitter.com/AM Haunted, the America's Most Haunted Twitter feed. All right. Real cool list with pictures for each one. I think it was 25 many spooky-looking castles from around the world where you can spend the night. So you can stay there. So the hotels or inns or whatever. 25 from all over the world where you can spend the night. And what better month than October for such things?
That would be fun.
I love this spooky picture of this castle. This one's in Germany, and we didn't go to this one, but we were in the town actually that it's in.
Okay,
and we just didn't get around to it. But there's really cool evening image with the pink clouds and the cool lighting. It's neat. Check it out. And then, like I said, there's an image in the article for every one of these 25, I think it is approximately, castles from around the world that you can stay for the evening or more evenings if you choose.
That'd be a lot of fun. I'd go.
It would.
I'd go hang on castle.
I would too. I think
not?
It'd be super neat. You have all that history and all the atmosphere, and maybe it's haunted. Hey, lots going on in the castles of the world. All right, this next one really is just kind of a picture. It's all about the image. So it's a really, really well drawn, so intricately that it looks almost like a photograph, and it shows. Let's see. I guess there's 5. One of them you only see an arm, but there's 5 Victorian ladies dressed in their finest Victorian garb, having tea, and all but one have skulls for heads.
I see that. There's only one live chick there, and that's the lady in the middle.
Right, and she's Miss Graves. Miss Graves' friends do not hold it against her that she has a face. They are willing to have tea with her anyway.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
All right, next one. Moving on. Another old. We love these vintage Halloween. It's the season now. Vintage Halloween pictures, and this is one of a small child. I don't know what, 5 maybe.
Yeah, pretty young.
Hard to tell. 5-ish, 6, something like that. In a very kind of old-fashioned witch outfit, covered head to toe other than her face, even gloves, black gloves, all in black, and riding on a broom. And there's a moon in the sky, and she's holding, what is that? I don't know. Is that a pumpkin? I guess.
That might be my mother-in-law's driving test picture.
Anyway, the child's face is so serious and kind of startled looking. That's a weird combination. Can you be startled and serious at the same time?
Well, this person could be, yes.
This child can be. So the caption of this one is Child Witch Ponders
on the
Eternity.
broom, yep.
Pondering Eternity.
Pondering where she's going to park when she gets to the mall.
Yep. So I love the vintage Halloween shots. That's one. I think that's about 100 years old. It looks like it. It's a fun image. There's another witch image. Look at this one. I love this one. This is a witch, classic witch, with a broom and the hat and all the garb, way up high in a tree. So the witch has been treed like a cat.
Have you decorated yet for Halloween, by the way, your house?
We have broken out kind of just that first round. Nothing outside.
Okay.
We kind of have more fall oriented.
Sure.
But a few the stuff that's out is stuff that we bought this year.
Yeah.
Bought So we just instead of wait, what are you going to put it away? No, just put it out.
Yeah.
So we do have a handful of items. This weekend is when we're going to start to get a lot more serious, and by next weekend we'll have it all busted out.
I noticed that more and more people are doing it earlier and earlier
I did
around
too.
town.
I noticed that too.
A lot more decorating early, and so that's cool to me though. That's way cool. I mean, look how early we decorate for Christmas, right? I mean,
I know.
some people right out day after Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And it stays up to the 1st. So why does a Halloween get the same love? Come on.
Not even the 1st. We got people around here who leave up their their Christmas stuff at least till the end of January.
Wow, that's a long time.
Damn. 2 full months.
That's almost overstaying its welcome.
That's a lot of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. We usually leave ours up Christmas. We take the tree down, by the 1st, but we generally leave ours up at least through the the 12 days of Christmas, that kind of thing. At least the first week of January.
And then you have that neighbor that leaves the lights up all year round, just doesn't plug them in.
Exactly.
Just leaves them dangling there
from the trailer.
From the trailer, exactly. That's right. I have seen several of those people. Their job is done. Just gotta plug it in. Done.
All right. So anyway, this witch one, the witch takes a broom breather. All right, this next one though. Ooh, I love this picture. It is spooky as all get out. For some reason, the Japanese have a real, it's almost like a fetish about bathrooms, toilets.
I have noticed that,
and they have all of these creatures, there's ghosts and various other kinds of creatures who inhabit the toilets.
I have noticed that. I watched a show recently where it's a Japanese film and it completely takes place in a bathroom stall. The whole show.
That is bizarre.
The whole movie. The whole thing. Being scared in a stall.
I would like to know the name of that one. But what this article is
it's
from
called, literally, stop. It's called Stalled. Seriously.
Is it really?
Yeah, so check it out. It's on Netflix.
That's hilarious. That's a great title. All right. The image we have is one of these Japanese ghosts, and this is one of the ones not that comes up out of the toilet, but that hovers up above. They climb the wall, so they're up above you while you're pooping. All right. So anyway, cool, interesting article about ghosts, haunted toilets, kind of around the world, but it really does seem to be a particular thing in Japan. But there's haunted toilets. Apparently, and all over the world.
And it's always a schoolgirl. Almost exclusively always a schoolgirl that's haunted.
Why are they doing that?
I have no idea. But have you ever noticed that in Japan, it always seems to be, when they show these type of images, it's always a schoolgirl that's haunted.
Yeah, of course. And look at the ring and all,
Yeah. Oh, they have a big fear of children that seek higher education.
Maybe that's... And girls in particular. Oh, my goodness, girls.
Yes. No, we cannot allow that to happen.
Japan's still a pretty heavily patriarchal society, I must say. Although not even what it was when I visited there for the first time, which is already, I don't even want to say, it's almost 40 years ago. It was 1979. Anyway, interesting story from Mysterious Universe about reputedly haunted toilets and bathrooms.
Sure.
Around the world. All right, this next one, I was so excited to see this. It's also from Mysterious Universe, and this is kind of a history, the haunted history of Jerome, Arizona, where we have been. My family has been. I don't know. I've probably been to Jerome 5 times at least.
It looks like a really pretty city, kind of built into the side of a hill, and
picture yourself up on one of the hotels way up at the top there.
Sure.
Imagine looking out over the valley. It's an incredible view. It's just unbelievable. It's a really fun town. It did become a ghost town. I don't think it ever went down to zero, but it went from being a mining town to, kind of hippies started coming back in the 70s. and it became an arts community, and now it's just this very cool, quaint, neat little town. It's very eclectic. I mean, it's not just one kind of person or another. It, like you said, has this amazing view, and then it's really haunted. We stayed at the four of us, when the kids obviously were younger. They weren't older. It wasn't in the future. It was maybe 5 years ago, I'm guessing, or so.
Wow.
So Lily was.
Why is it so haunted though? What was the
It's a mining
explanation?
town.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of deaths, and there's all kinds of emotion going on, and it was a place where it's the typical boom bust type environment where it just sprung up, and there was all kinds of sin and vice. Of course, you had a huge red light district, and so there was a lot of emotion, a lot of death, some violent death, of course, inevitably. And then beyond that, they're not sure. It's possible that the actual the metals, that they were mining for might be some sort of attraction element. There's various theories, but man, we had an experience in the middle of the night at a B&B in Jerome.
What happened?
Scared the living daylights out of all of us, but in particular the poor kids. They were screaming. We were in it was 2 rooms, but they were open to each other, so it wasn't a door. I think you could probably close off like a curtain kind of thing, or partition. And of course we had it open because they were kids and we didn't want them to be afraid, and so on and so forth. But they were in their room, we were in our room. Well, like 3 a.m, we all hear something. There's movement. The covers are ruffling on the bed, and on our bed, and the kids come screaming like bats out of hell at 3 a.m. into our bed. We couldn't have pried them out of there before light in the morning with a crowbar. They were just petrified. We were all huddled together, the 4 of us, in one bed for the rest of the night. It was crazy. Then we talked to the owner, the woman, in the morning, because, B&B, so you go for breakfast. Yeah. Amazing food. And she said, oh, yeah, that happens all the time.
All the time. Yeah, that's so common. We should have warned you that the kids would do that. But, we're kind of glad it happened.
She has pictures. She's got pictures up downstairs.
I bet. Where I live now is a mining community, and it is big time haunted. You're right. There's something about mining communities and haunts that just go hand in hand, because we have the iron ore mines up here. And man, is this joint haunted? Everywhere seems to be haunted.
It's possibly some combination of some sort of, earth-related matter, some sort of storing of energy in the metal. I mean, who knows? Plus, then you just have, you got a lot of accidents, and you have you have sudden deaths of various kinds.
Exactly.
In kind of mining situation. Exactly. All right, moving along. Have you seen this picture before? This is a real picture.
What is that?
It's the Death Comet. And from that angle, it looks absolutely like a skull.
Wow.
It is nicknamed the Death Comet, and it is returning to Earth's neighborhood just after Halloween.
Interesting. So we're going to see that again. So maybe I should invest in a telescope, not just for spying on neighbors anymore. Now you can see the Death Comet.
Not just for spying on. Yeah. So anyway, super cool picture. At least from this angle, it really looks like a skull.
It looks very much like a skull.
All right, moving along. This one is scientific, about as scientific as it gets. On this very day, 113 years ago, can you believe it's been that long? Albert Einstein put forth his extremely famous proposition that E equals MC squared.
It still holds up today.
Oh, it absolutely holds up today.
Math is math. It's timeless, so,
So what that means, and for those who don't know, energy equals mass times the speed of light squared.
Now, did you know that if you go like Einstein theorized that if you went the speed of light, you'd become huge?
Yes.
You would not be able to. You just become infinitely huge.
Become infinite, right?
Yeah. So that is why we can never go the speed of light, according to Einstein.
Yeah, and there's been some fuzziness there with the discovery of black holes, because as you enter the black hole, you're going at or near the speed of light.
Now,
and
had we, I mean, you're obviously not the guy that knows Einstein's entire life, but had we discovered black holes in his lifetime, or was that after he'd passed away that we discovered the black holes?
I think they were theorized when he was alive, but they had not been discovered.
Okay. I wasn't sure if they'd already been discovered, because that would have turned everything on its head to some degree.
Yep, absolutely true. That's true. All right, next one is also space. This is really pretty cool, even though I kind of made fun of it. It's another asteroid. It's called Ryugu. And I assume that's the Japanese name. And the Japanese have actually landed a spacecraft for the first time ever. Landed a craft on an asteroid.
Wow.
And we are seeing pictures. You can see the craft landed on that far left one. And then it gets there's 3 images. And the one on the right is the close up, and that's from about, let's see. Well, you can see how close up, but if 1 meter, so that whole image is only about maybe 5 meters, maybe something like that across, maybe 5 by 5 meters. So that's only 15 feet by 15 feet.
Didn't we already do that though? I thought we already landed a spaceship on a meteor.
It's been circling it,
and we had to break it up with high explosives with a bunch of roughnecks.
No, we didn't do that. That was a movie.
Oh, that was a movie. Never mind. I'm sorry. I thought it was the real deal.
No, that was what was that? Deep.
No, that was Armageddon. Sorry, messing with you. Yeah, that was during that time. I think it was early 2000s, late 90s, where we were obsessed with things getting destroyed.
Yep. I recall it. Yep, Ben Affleck was in that one.
He was. Yeah.
Anyway, the asteroid itself is not very interesting looking. It's just a big, dumb rock. But it's fascinating that we have actually, or humans have landed a craft on it and taken these super up close pictures. And they're also going to be taking samples, I believe, or they already have. So yeah, real interesting. It's asteroid Ryugu, and very interesting images, although the place itself looks pretty bleak. It's just it's rubble and a big boulder.
That's all it is, big rock flying around.
That's all it is. All right, moving along. I love this picture. It's a picture of a large number of pumpkins, and they're on what look like, I imagine they're skids, right? They were moved probably with a forklift, right?
Yep, on pallets, yeah.
Pallets, yes, exactly. So they are kind of lined up with, I don't know, 50 each at least, probably.
A lot of them there.
There's a boatload. And they're in the yard of a church. Mm-hmm. So my guess is, in reality, as many churches do, they're going to have a pumpkin sale to raise funds for the kids group or whatever. But I chose to see it a different way. Pumpkins patiently line up to go to church.
It kind of looks like they're sitting in pews, after all, the way that they're lined up. Yeah, so they're getting ready. They should have put a pumpkin preacher out front.
Pontificating.
Yeah, and maybe one of the veil. Exactly. They should have gotten creative with that. Come on, church. Come on. Get funny with it.
All right, this next one, I love this picture. This is a painting, obviously. It's almost cartoonish. And the caption says exactly what it is. A vampire, a ghost, a bat, a spider, a bipedal pumpkin, and an upright cat with an umbrella walk into a bar.
Oh, man.
So anyway, it's a cool image.
That is a cool image. That's a very nice image.
Yeah, it's kind of cartoonish.
It is.
I love it.
I like those kind of images.
All right, so I'm sure you're familiar with Jamaica's Rose Hall. I know Ghost of
yes.
There are several other shows. So this is the background, the tale behind the mysterious White Witch of Jamaica's Rose Hall. And there's some interesting images. And this woman who is was the White Witch, the supposed White Witch. Interesting tale of her life. And she was an actual voodoo priestess. That's why they call her the White Witch, because she was a voodoo practitioner. She learned it from her housekeeper, who was, I guess, Haitian, and taught her voodoo.
Do that voodoo that you do so well.
Exactly. So that you can click through to Mysterious Universe for that one. That one is very interesting story about the White Witch of Rose Hall. All right, this next picture, next image, it's odd and mysterious, and I love it. And it is at the laundromat, and you got the big dryer, the big industrial dryers, and one of the dryers has the door open, and all you see are legs hanging out. A woman's legs are hanging out of the dryer with no further explanation,
Have you ever just want to set something up like that in public just to see what people do? I mean, not like putting kids in trunks or anything, but just let legs hang out of something and just see their reactions.
Yeah, I have, and that may be even what this is, though it sure looks real.
It
looks
does
like
look real.
Person's legs.
It does.
Anyway, the caption this one is, she was wet.
Oh, Eric, you're a card. You really are.
Moving along, speaking of pumpkins, look at this field.
Wow.
Thousands of pumpkins. Not exaggerating. There are thousands.
And they're hard to grow. I tried growing some pumpkins this year. They're actually harder than you think to grow.
I'm trying to think if we've ever tried. I don't think we have. We actually have a couple little, very small watermelons growing out in the yard, but I don't think we have any pumpkins.
You need a lot of sun and heat. It turns out you need a lot for a longer. Yeah. I found that out. A farmer told me that. A guy that grows them all the time. Because I asked him, why are my pumpkins so small? He says, because you started too late, and you got to start them in the house during the winter time, and then transplant them later on if you want the big pumpkins. So because it takes a long growing season, and normally here in the Midwest, we don't have that long of a growing, especially where I am, growing season for them.
Upper Midwest, yeah.
Upper Midwest, yeah. So.
Absolutely true. So anyway, rather amazing picture of a field, obviously a farm, with thousands of pumpkins, and the caption is simply, and boy, did this get a response. I mean...
I see that.
Yeah, 114 likes and 13 responses. 13 replies is a lot. And the question was simply, is there such thing as too many pumpkins? And of course, everyone said no.
No, of course there isn't.
Unless you have to carve them all. That was the only exception.
Yeah, the carving them, that's a horse of another color right there.
Yeah, that would take a while to carve that field. That is for sure. All right, back into space. Very interesting. We've been hearing about Saturn's largest moon, Titan, which may have water inside of it. But they now have images of Titan. And in those images, it is revealed that Titan has enormous dust storms. And it's only the third body in our solar system, obviously Earth, and then Mars, that do have dust storms. And it has enough of an atmosphere that it can have dust storms. Like the moon couldn't have them because it doesn't have any atmosphere.
Sure. That makes sense.
But Titan is big. It's the size, it's the size of a planet.
That is big. That is very big. I'm looking at that. I'm trying to figure. Yeah, look at that. Interesting.
So huge dust storms sweep across the surface of Titan. Boy, I'd love to visit. Saturn.
Uranus.
All the moons. Yeah,
No,
of
sorry.
course, Uranus. I mean, who would not want to go to Uranus?
Sorry, my fifth grader had to come out for a minute. Come on. I tried to keep him locked up. I tried, man. I tried.
No one I know wouldn't like to go to Uranus.
Well, especially during the asteroid story. I was going to say, is the asteroid going to crash into Uranus? Yeah, so I'm letting that go. I got to let it go. We got 1 minute left before we talk Ghost Squad, a paranormal mockumentary. Great film, by the way.
I found that brain thing. I found the brain museum. It's
India. It's in India. Oh, okay.
And there's a picture from it. And yeah, India has a brain museum. And what I was going to say when you were talking earlier, my point for bringing that up was some of these brains are vivisected. No, they weren't alive. Are dissected. And you see a side view, and several of them show what parasites can do to the brain.
Oh, yeah. I meant to rip it right up. We got to run to break, though. I mean, I can't believe this half hour just flew right by, Eric. We come back. We're going to be talking all things Ghost Squad. Ghost Squad, a great show that we got a screener for it. It was really, really interesting. So don't get worried. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's a shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olson.
What's
Eric.
That
dinging
I
sound?
have no idea. I have no idea what the dinging sound is, but that's okay.
It was rattling around in my brain. My headphones started vibrating.
It's going to make you have the issue again, isn't it?
Yes, and if it happens again, I will no longer be the handsomest man in rock and roll.
Oh God, don't let that happen.
Your
dozens
make ugly faces. I made Kavanaugh-like faces.
Your dozens and dozens of fans would just be horribly outraged if that happened.
Tens. There's tens of them. It's in the tens, I'm telling you.
Yes, that's what I hear. Hey, way to crack double digits,
Knocking
my friend.
at my door every day. Not you again. Get some new people.
Exactly. All right, let's do what we do best here. Let's do what we're meant to do here. This is a radio show, after all.
Yes.
And take it away. I'm waiting
would you like me to participate?
Yes, participate, please. By all means.
Right. Who are we? Who and what are we speaking of this evening? We are speaking of Ghost Squad. Ghost Squad is a mockumentary series that follows a ragtag gang of paranormal investigators as they try to rid the Chicagoland area of its most stubborn ghouls. The pilot episodes finds our crew in the historic Cavill estate, where a night of partying in the 20s turned into a night of murder. Years later, head paranormal investigator Desperado Miller, that's a name, must lead her team on a mission to expel the spirits from this tortured home. Under the careful eye of the escape keeper Jody, the crew struggles with workplace bullying, warring egos, and lots of ghosts. Ghost Squad premiered as an official selection in the 2018 New York Television Festival and will be released to the public on October 1st. Wow, that was Freudian. All right. It was created by our guests, Andy Kushner and Carly Mosley. And who are they, you may ask? Andy is a writer-director who was a writer on Freeform's Truth and Eliza, as well as Cards Against Humanity. We couldn't believe it when we heard that. That is so vile and vicious and grotesque, and we love it. And he was also at Dose. He has written 2 critically acclaimed web series, Through the Door and Power Couple. His work has been accepted to the 2015 Miami Webfest and LA Webfest 2016. His pilot script, Rivers, has been named a semifinalist for the Series Fest Storytellers Initiative, a quarterfinalist for the 3rd annual Screencraft Screenwriting Fellowship, as well as a quarterfinalist in the 2016 Screencraft Pilot Launch TV Teleplay Contest. That contest has way too long a name and should be disqualified as a result. Who, you may ask, is Carly? She's a writer-performer, and she's a New Jersey native who moved to Chicago after graduating from Vassar to pursue comedy and waitressing. She toured the country with the Second City's national touring company and performs regularly at theaters across her home country, her new home city of New York. She is a contributing writer at Reductress and a company member at Story Pirates. Carly is represented by 3 Arts Entertainment, and she also tweets at Carly the Mite, and Andy is at Candy, Candy, Kushner, and that's Nir. Welcome to the program, Andy and Carly.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, not a problem, guys.
Introduction.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He is the best in the
Really?
business. He is
Man, the build-up, the lead-up, the anticipation.
We call him the walking resume.
Yes. People hire me to accompany them.
He's great at
job
parties.
interviews.
Yeah, right. Announce us before we enter the ball. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a troubadour. I'm like a troubadour.
He's great at children's parties, too. Don't forget
Brave Sir Harold then ran away. Yes, he ran away. Brave Sir Harold.
There you go, Eric. Hey, the show is good. I like the show. Very funny. Being a guy that's been in the paranormal, I used to be, still am a paranormal investigator, kind of retired at this point because, family and kids and the whole thing. So
sure,
I have stumbled. Yes, life. I have stumbled in the dark my share of times and dealt with a lot of different people along the way. This show really, it kind of hit my funny bone because in a lot of ways it's kind of true to life in a weird kind of way. How some
Are
of
you
it.
telling me paranormal investigators take themselves on occasion too seriously?
Oh, yeah.
Never.
Yeah, perish the thought. Yeah, almost to nauseum sometimes. And so, it was nice to see some comedy come into it. But my first question was, well, okay, why the paranormal? You guys got some stories to tell on that end?
Well, I think and I'm sure Andy will speak to this too, but I mean, we spent a long time, we knew we wanted to do a project like this. We wanted to create a pilot. We wanted to write something that could kind of be a longer project, and we started batting around some ideas, and we got really excited when we started basically researching and watching a lot of different paranormal investigator shows, and it's just such, I mean, to your point, what you just said, Joel, it's just there's so many characters in that world, and there's such community in that world, and starting to explore it was really fun for us, and so writing about it was equally fun because we started with this kind of already created world of like, it was basically, I think in my head, just like, how can we slip into that world? How can we engage with those characters that already exist and then kind of heighten them to our own, our own creation as we see fit?
I mean, they are. Oh, go ahead, Andy. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. All I was going to say was that I agree with everything Carly said. Yeah, I mean, I think that we both really gravitate towards characters that take themselves very seriously and putting them in situations where that is at odds with them looking a bit foolish. And that isn't to say that paranormal investigation is foolish. It's just the scenarios that we happen to put them in within that world tend to make them look a little silly. And and like you hit on, like the people in this industry really take themselves very seriously, and so it just felt like in that way, just from a character standpoint, it felt like ripe for comedy.
And sometimes they take themselves so seriously. I can't help but laughing at them. Some of those people, like, are you serious? Come on now.
For sure.
Come on. It's not a ghost cat that's bothering anybody. It's that draft that's coming through the window. What's their problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think we really, Carly and I really, I think I can speak for both of us. We really loved, in particular, one show, Haunting Australia.
Yes.
Became a really big, a really fun one for us.
Inspiration, Andy.
Yeah, it was inspirational for us. In fact, actually, I just heard back from Alan Tiller, who was one of the characters, one of the people on the show. He's going to also promote it, which was, in this weird way, very surreal for both of us, to like this guy we watched in the show that I don't know how many people actually watched, but those characters were especially the whole team, and everybody had their duty, and so we kind of watched Haunting Australia and modeled our show after those archetypes and had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you have the straight person, I mean, and then you have the comic relief. You have, I like the motivational speaker that Carly that you play.
Thank you.
That cracked the hell right out of me. How can we open a communication for you? It was just so funny. And then you have the twins. And then you have, he was the exorcist that had crossed over and was certified exorcist that's crossed over to the other side. I found him, the cast was actually pretty hilarious. You guys really
Thanks so much.
It was really funny, especially someone that's been doing it as long as I have, over 20 years in the field. It was just kind of funny. It was good to watch it. It was good to see that comedy side of things.
The funniest ones, just inherently, I find at this point anyway, I haven't investigated as much as Joel has, but I have investigated on and off over a really long period of time because I'm super, super old. So the ones who crack me up are the really confrontational investigators, Mm-hmm. I demand you come out here now. You committed suicide. Ha ha! I wave my private parts at you. And
oh my gosh, Eric.
It's so antithetical to pretty much all theories, of who these people are. What are these people? Where did they come from? Well, if you buy into the theory that they're just former people, why would you talk to them like that? Why do you think they would respond like that? So I always find that end of it hilarious. And then just, of course, you have your kind of quintessential archetypes who work in the field. And how did you guys choose to put that cast of characters together? In other words, in a television pilot versus, say, a film. How did you decide what format all this would come together best in?
Well, I think it was important to both of us, like we said, to create something that was really character driven and that could exist and be sustainable over time, given that it was like, this is our cast, these are our characters, we know them so well, and we want to develop them really thoroughly so that we could drop them into any situation and play it out and enjoy it and have a good time. And just that mentality lent itself, I think, better to something more episodic than like a 2-hour film or even like a short film, because I know for me it was like, well, we spent so much time creating these characters and we really grew to kind of like love them and, you know, want them to succeed in a certain way, that to create it in a sense that could provide more than just one opportunity was really fun for us.
Now, you guys are releasing the film or releasing the show, the pilot, to the public. I actually just got the answer on how you're doing that, so I will leave that to you guys. How did you come to that decision, and what are your plans once it's out there? Obviously, we want to get the word out and let people know how they can see it, so they can get behind it and they can enjoy what we're talking about here. How did you make the decision to just kind of release it? And obviously, it's October 1st. That's a pretty key date. And what are you looking to achieve by releasing it? Where do you want it to go from here?
Yeah. So we did the New York Television Festival back in July, and which was it's kind of the tentpole, the flagship independent TV festival in the country, and it and as a result, we were able to get some meetings, one with HBO, one with an agency, and we're applying to other festivals like Slam Dance, and hoping to continue to pursue other routes in terms of linking up with a network. In the meantime, we figured that we would release it just to get some more press and do it our own way. As a result of like this press call out that we have done, we've connected with Jason Hawes of Ghost Hunters.
I know Jason very well. Yeah, he's a good one to be connected with.
He dug the pilot, which was like just like you guys digging the pilot. Like to hear from people in this community and say that like, hey, you guys nailed it. It's like honestly like the highest bar that we could aim for, and like because like you guys know it best. And as with anything, like when you enter someone else's world, you want to treat it fairly. You want to have an accurate representation while also making it entertaining. So we're hoping that like maybe Jason's gonna promote it, and we'll be in talks with him, and hopefully we can continue those conversations, and honestly trying to ingratiate ourselves more into this community, and maybe even packaging those that are established in this community to take it to a production company or a network to be like, hey, we've got the paranormal side of this, the face of it, and you've got these comedy writers that clearly you see understand the world and understand what it means to create dynamic characters and create like enjoyable comedy, and hopefully we can present that as a united front as we go forward.
Well, one of the hardest things I would imagine is just getting the lingo right too. If you're not in the community, you don't quite understand some of the paranormal slang. You guys nailed it though. You guys really did.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like it could have been. We were a little. At first it was like spooky if we were going to be able to nail the tone. Initially, like we don't want to step on any toes. We don't want to have. So we did our research. We truly watched like dozens of paranormal shows to get so we don't just like look at one show and we go that's the archetype, here we go. You got to get a range, you got to find the range, so we tried to find the range.
Also our goal, and I hope this came through, was like we were never like, look at these freaks chasing ghosts.
I do. I say that once in a while.
But from you it's earned.
For sure. Yeah. But it's like you could like all of us and all of our friends are like a bunch of improvisers in Chicago. You could easily be like, look at those freaks being freaks. But to understand and appreciate the fact that it's like, no, it's this community and it's like very specific, and like we've said, it's like, yeah, it has its own language, it has its own slang, it has its own editing techniques, like making the pilot look a certain way is really important to us, and just really like I think honoring that to the best of our abilities was really important to both of us in both writing it, and I think Andy can speak more to that in terms of directing and editing the footage as well.
Well, what was it like, Andy, to direct this thing? I mean, it was as a director, you really had to pay attention to the nuances of a lot of things at once. Did you find that hard to capture that essence and also staying funny and staying true to the pilot?
I mean, so we shot this under $5,000, and it looks how it does because of the talented people we had working on this. We had an incredibly talented DP, Megan Donnelly, who brought in not only her talents and her experience, but also brought in her equipment that was state of the art and
her immense patience.
Absolutely. I mean, we shot the bulk of this in 8 days in a house in the suburbs. Almost everybody worked for free as a favor because they believed in the project. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I didn't sleep. I did this 2.5 weeks before I got married. It was exhausting and stressful. But, at the end of the day, like, I had a lot of good advice from directors that I trust going into it that were like, gave me advice like, hey, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? So every day as we came to set, like, no matter the stress that was going on or any sort of dynamic, like, while we were on set and shooting, we tried to have fun. And sometimes it does get stressful, but like we laughed a lot. Mm-hmm. And, I tried to, as we went through it, we made sure, like, it was very important that, like, we had that GoPro to get to get those overhead shots, and I knew that in post we could, make them look more, add the green filter to it, throw on a little, like, make it a little blurred, and we also were lucky enough to have a handheld device, Mophie, that was able to track with someone's eye line. So there's one scene where one of the twins is walking. She's walking with it. And that, while it looks like lower quality, it's actually what the show looks like. So we tried to, like, balance, like, we want this to look produced, but we also want this to look unscripted in a way, right? Because it's
authentic, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a documentary. Yeah, I mean, it's a mockumentary, so you can't be too polished, otherwise it's not believable.
I think Andy is failing to mention that we purchased a fog machine from Party City for $25.
No!
That is very true.
Which 5? Was that with or without the juice?
That was without the juice. It worked exactly one time, and it set off the fire alarm in the house that we were shooting in.
And it smelled.
It smelled terrible. It truly unleashed hell. But I'd like to think it really set the mood for the.
It did. It sure did.
Yeah.
How did you decide? I was just thinking. How did you decide to characterize the ghosts themselves? Because that's really key.
Yeah. Carly and I went back and forth. We wrote up, I think we went off separately, and we each wrote like 3 or 4 potential backstories that would balance. We want it, because, like, we don't want to just make it like, I think at one point we were talking about, like, Carly pitched something where, like, a dog eats a bunch of fertilizer, and then, like, somebody lights a match, and, like, the dog explodes and kills everybody in the house. Like, the dog farts, I think.
And I stand by the episodes I wrote.
Yeah.
That would have been funny. That also would have been funny.
And and we were like, yeah, we do want that, but we also, like, want we want that comedy, but we it has to be shootable and on our budget, and B, we want it to still have that horror aspect to it while also having jokes throughout it. So we just tried to find a storyline where we felt like we could get both.
And that, I think, goes back to the character-driven thing too. Like, I mean, we wanted it to be. It's not that it's secondary, but it almost is. It's like we have our characters, we have our ghost crew, and whether they're handling this story or the story of, like, any other ghost escapade, we're going to see their characters and their relationships play out in a way that's, I think, more interesting and more sustainable than if we focused entirely on, like, this is the corpse of this person who did this thing and developed that too extensively. Like I said, I stand by the dog thing. I do think that has legs.
What is funny though is I was sent.
It used to have legs.
It did until it blew up, and then of course anyhow it's messy. I was sent a screener from another show, a paranormal show, more of a serious tone paranormal show, and they disclosed to me that they spent $35,000 on this one episode, and it doesn't look as good as yours. And I don't mean to downgrade their product at all, but so that shocks me that you were able to do all this for right around $5,000. That's amazing.
I think it's also, and Andy said this, but I think it is a testament to our friends, and Chicago is an incredible community of people. It's like, if you're going to create something, you should do it in Chicago. There's so much talent, and there's so much I think we both would agree that there's just so much generosity there, and we feel so lucky to have been able to work with, every single person on set or in the cast was either a friend of ours or someone recommended to us by a friend who, like Andy said, was working for free and was just excited to help us. And that is like the least glamorous setup you could possibly have. But we still got to create this cool thing together. And that's it's the best feeling. And I would love to be able to spend $35,000 on a project. And if there are ways to do that, keep me posted. But right?
Yeah, right.
Well, I am certain that you got more than $35,000 worth of value. That's really what we're talking about.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Not just the flat out, what's the actual cost? Because as you were saying, you had all these gratis contributions from very talented people. So my goodness, if you were paying everyone what they're worth, I'm sure it would be way more than $35,000 by the time you put all that together. That's funny that because it shows you're a writer. When I asked about characterizing the ghost, I was actually thinking about the look of the ghosts. How did you decide how to make them look? Because that's such an important thing in a paranormal context. You don't want to be too jokey. You don't want to be too obvious. You don't want to be. You probably don't want to be Ghostbusters, right? You probably don't want. I probably shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe you do. So I shouldn't say that. But you don't want to be too jokey. But on the other hand, you don't want to be too vague and diaphanous either. So how did you decide how to actually convey the ghosts, and how did you do it technically? I'm interested.
In terms of choosing how we'd interact, we didn't want it to be like you said. We didn't want to be Ghostbusters. We didn't want to see the ghosts. It's not as if we thought that was like a poor idea or whatever, but we were specifically going the route of paranormal mockumentary. So if you watch any paranormal show, obviously you're not physically seeing an apparition of a spirit.
Usually not.
No, usually
not generally.
I've yet to see it. And so we wanted to keep it within that world, and honestly, also so we filmed this in 2016. I think Ghostbusters came out that year, the newest one.
Yeah, it did.
And we definitely wanted to separate ourselves, and not to say anyone is putting us in the same category. God, I hope and I wish.
Comments on our pilot for sure.
Yeah. But the point is we didn't want to get the thing of ghost comedy, a ghost comedy has happened. We've always said paranormal, even though it's called Ghost Squad. This is in the world of paranormal investigation. It's not about capturing spirits or something, apparitions. So yeah, we modeled it after the shows we watched.
And that's the best thing you could have done, and it comes up. I like the billiard pro, though. She was a billiards pro. Come on, who's a billiard? And then he gets the tennis teacher. Oh, my God. That beginning, I'm thinking, oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. Oh, this is going to be great. And then it just keeps on going. It really was an enjoyable watch. I thought it was quite funny. And
thank you so much. We appreciate you guys having us on.
Yeah.
How much have you planned out subsequent episodes, assuming this goes well and you get some sort of a deal? How much into the future have you written or planned out?
We've got about a whole season kind of, again, episodically planned out in terms of different scenarios we'd like to see the characters in. And with any kind of pilot of any season, it's like we try to get so much information in the first thing, and then, you know, in a perfect world, we get more time in like a season to develop these characters more gracefully, or learn the more like nuanced qualities about them, and kind of figure out like why they do all love and care about each other. And then I think, yeah, I would say about a season.
You need to have a Bigfoot show, though. You need to have a Bigfoot episode. You got a cryptozoologist there on staff.
You do.
Come on. You got to get the, you know, Sasquatch involved.
Tell me about it.
I don't. Yeah. No.
Preaching to the choir, Joel.
I know, right? I know.
You come on. We develop, you know, a role for you.
Well, actually, I am a member of also Sasquatch crew, so I do both. I'm also a paranormal investigator for ghosts, and I also look for Bigfoot. So kind of both of those communities.
What is the closest you've come to finding Bigfoot, do you think?
Me, not really, other than hearing vocalizations in the woods and that kind of stuff. I've never actually put eyes on a Bigfoot, but, you know, there's some pretty compelling evidence I've come across that would make me scratch my head, and I'm not totally on the boat yet saying, hey, there's a Bigfoot, but boy, I'm close. There's some strange things I've seen. We got to run a break. We come back. We're going to talk more with Andy and Carly about this cool show, Ghost Squad, which is one of the coolest mockumentaries I've ever seen, at least in a very long time. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So Daddy's little girl thinks she's going to prom tonight with some punk who calls himself Snake.
Yeah, they grow up so fast.
Well, not if I can help it, they don't.
Okay, here's what you do. When that kid shows up, Dad's going to be doing a few chores around the house.
Huh?
It doesn't matter the chore. What's important is that it requires the use of a 60cc gas-powered chainsaw and possibly a mask.
I think it's showtime.
He's here. Dad, I want you to meet...
All right, let her rip.
What's that, honey? Hi, Snake. Great to meet you. But wait, where are you going?
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey. Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. You know, 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to After Hours AM Radio. This is I'm your host, Jolsters. Right along with me,
Eric Olson.
And tonight we're talking Ghost Squad, which is a very cool show, and we're having the creators, the two producers of that cool show, and I recommend everyone should check that out. And that's, of course, Andy. I'm going to destroy your last name.
Kushner.
I know.
Yep,
Kushner.
yep.
I know, because I was thinking Jared Kushner, and that's why I'm like, I'm going to destroy his last name. And Carly Mosley on. But no relation, by the way, to the former Kushner.
Spelled differently.
So it is definitely spelled
Israeli
differently.
I
was going to ask you that.
Indian or something?
Israeli.
I was going to ask that, because the spelling, that's very cool. And this show, this is a breath of fresh air. I mean, we haven't had a show like this in the paranormal community for a very, very long time. If ever, I cannot remember, Eric, a mockumentary of any kind of quality on this level in a long time. And so it was a lot of fun.
What was that one that had about 2 or 3 seasons? I don't know if you'd exactly call it a mockumentary, but I mean, it was a humorous paranormal investigator. We had him on.
Mountain Monsters? Were there? No.
Right when we started. No, it was on one of those off channels. I don't even know if it was on UTV. Was there
I think so, yeah. I can't remember who it was. I'll have to dig back in the archives and see who it was.
Anyway, but no, I mean, that was very different. This is an affectionate ribbing at the actual paranormal investigation community, and I think that is unusual. There's paranormal comedies. I mean, there's one on TV right now. You got
but that's different.
Ghosted. But I don't know if you guys have watched that one.
No.
Yeah. It's Craig Robinson, and but the problem with it, or I don't know if it's a problem, but the season 2, or was it the second half of season 1? I can't remember. I don't know how long it's been on. It's not on right now. It
got canceled.
Did it?
Yeah, it did get canceled, by the way.
Oh, all right. Well, then we don't have to worry about it.
It's not coming back. It's done.
It was either the second season or the second half of the first season. Barely showed any paranormal activity at all.
Yeah.
The whole first half was completely focused on that, and it was lots of CGI, lots of effects, lots of developing, these entities. The second half, it all became about the relationships within, this team. So it completely changed.
I never watched it. Never watched the show. Didn't watch it at all. So
Adam Scott and Craig Robinson, some pretty big names, and they were funny, they were good, but I don't know. It was another one of these secret government organizations that keeps the world safe from all of these monsters. It's basically a Men in Black.
I was gonna say, I think I already saw that movie. But anyhow, guys, Andy, Carly, one thing that I've noticed, we've had other actors on that have said this, it is incredibly hard to pull off comedy. You guys seem to do it pretty effortlessly. I mean, what's that all about? I mean, really, it just seemed spot on. I mean, just right away. Did you guys find it very easy to be funny, or were there times where you had to scratch your head going, okay, how would this gag be pulled off?
Oh, I think all of the above. I mean, Andy and I met, everyone involved in the show, including most of, if not, I would say almost all of the crew, are comedians, which is immensely helpful, especially on set when we're thinking about, how can we make this moment sincere but also funny. But Andy and I met in class at Second City. We cast our show entirely out of friends of ours in Chicago who are all working comedians in the community there, and just being around that, at least for me, I can't speak for Andy, but being around that many funny people, even if it was like, I'm tired and we've been shooting forever and like it's late and we're in the suburbs, it's like, oh, but all these people are so funny and doing such a good job. Like I just want to keep having a good time on set and keep like enjoying this and keep laughing with them. And I think that's one of my favorite things about the final product, the pilot, is that I think you get that, or I hope you get that sense that it's like, man, these guys had a good time filming this. And
well, you guys had chips and salsa at the very least.
We had chips.
Yeah, we went roller skating.
We had truffles. We had dips, Joel. We had dips.
That's right.
Yeah,
dips abounded.
That roller skating was at 5 in the morning.
That was so fun. God, it was so fun.
Yes, yeah. We just that's what we've always written is comedy, and that's where all we're always, when we write something, we're always looking, where's the joke?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just where our inclinations are, and our instincts lie, is trying to find the humor in things. So, we work with funny people, and they help to make our things better as well. It's a collaborative process.
And you had to have found a lot of the shows, your source material, unintentionally funny. where they were trying. You know what I mean, because some of it is just funny the way they come across, like we talked about earlier. And that being said, which one of the shows would you say was your favorite if you had to pick one?
I think that Haunting Australia is like, for us, was just
the number
kind of
one.
Everything. I mean, we really do. I can't remember his name now, but the lead of it took himself very seriously, where he was screaming at spirits and then flinging doors open, and then looking really disappointed when no apparition was there. And I think that mixed with our final scene of our pilot is an homage to the final scene in Haunting Australia where they're all on segways, and I believe it's Alan Tiller falls off and injures his ankle. I can't remember if it's Alan, but I believe it was, and they're all on segways, and I think it's supposed to be done in jest, but he does say that he believes that some sort of I don't know exactly what it is, some sort of, in the world of cryptozoology, some sort of beast has come out and tripped him on his Segway and causing him to hurt his ankle.
Haunting Australia, though, I watched it quite a bit. That's a great show. I do enjoy those guys. They all do have characters about themselves, and you're right, that is one of the better ones. If I have to sit down and watch one, that's one of my favorite ones to watch.
Yeah.
Joel, do you find yourself? I mean, I know you said you've been on several investigative,
over 300 of them,
which is wild to me. So, do you find because I know from a comedy perspective, it's after working in comedy, sometimes the last thing I want to do is come home and watch comedy on TV.
Yeah.
It's I'd rather watch I love a good courtroom drama, but
Sure.
when you do you find yourself wanting to watch paranormal?
No.
Shows, or?
No, short answer is no. I'd rather watch paint dry in a lot of ways. I really would, because it's just what I've done for a very, very long time. And sometimes, one thing with the paranormal as a whole is we watch TV shows and you go to these super famous places and, oh my gosh, we're here, wherever, you might be at the Limp Mansion or wherever. A lot of your on the boots ground people in the paranormal are actually just trying to help other people. Because they're having a disturbance in their home, they don't know what's causing it, and they don't want, they want someone to reassure them they're not going crazy. And that's really the backbone of what the paranormal is people helping people. The shows are the glitz and it's the glamour, it's but the real guys and girls are doing the really good work out there. Your ones working in obscurity, just trying to help people, and that's really what I kind of focused on, was helping people, trying to get to the bottom of what was causing this turmoil in their life. And so I'd get home, or I'd be done, and I would sit down to watch a Ghost Adventures and go, oh my God, I can't watch this, I'm going to puke. I'd turn it off. And not because it's a bad show. I'm not saying it's a bad show, or any of them's a bad show. It's just, like you said, when you've been doing it forever, you start picking it apart, going, no, I wouldn't have done it that way. No, that's bull of it. No, that would never work. Yeah, stuff like that. So, yes, long story short, I do not necessarily watch them unless I have to now.
Yeah.
I actually, without the short version of my road through my river, my winding river through the paranormal, is I had some very intense experiences when I was young. I think in retrospect, somehow subconsciously turned it off, where I was no longer receptive to it. I just didn't want to go through that anymore. I was getting married. I was having kids. I was, becoming an adult, entering the real world, blah, blah, blah. And it's not like I sat down and thought about all this. This is in retrospect. But nothing happened for many, many, many years, for decades. And then my wife and I were traveling, and we were just in a hotel somewhere and just looking for something to watch. Mm-hmm. And we literally just stumbled across Ghost Adventures. I'd never heard of it, didn't know anything about it. I did not know. At that time, we just weren't even watching that much TV, period. I didn't know there were such shows on. Ghost Hunters had already been on for a while. But we watched it, and we were just fascinated by it. And part of it was the personalities and kind of the bravado and whatnot. And this was early on. This wasn't as things got much crazier in subsequent Ghost Adventure seasons. They were still rather subdued and relatively quote unquote serious. But it was very interesting, and we enjoyed, just the whole notion of it, that not only were these people looking for ghosts, they were expecting to find them. It just rocked my world. And I have a kind of a philosophy and religion background as far as academically, so I kind of put it into that framework and kind of a cosmological viewpoint, and I found that part fascinating. So I then kind of, as a writer myself, writer, publisher, editor, I kind of jumped into it from that perspective. I started interviewing all these guys on all these shows and asking them all these questions, and so for me, I literally came back in, kind of like you guys, into the back end of the paranormal world, in my case, through the TV shows. So they do have a lot of meaning for me, and I watched them religiously, actually, for years. But I'm sure I don't have to tell you, with all the research you guys have done, there is a certain repetitiveness. There's a certain sameness to them.
Yeah.
And you can only watch so many.
Yeah, you got your prison episode, you got your mental hospital, you got your innkeeper who lost their mind. There definitely is. We're playing with tropes in most of these shows, for sure.
Yeah, and rarely do they show them in a private home anymore helping people.
Yeah.
They used to show that Ghost Hunters in the early days was really focused on the helping people aspect. I respected them for that. At least they're showing that aspect, but now that seems to have gone by the wayside. And when they've gone on so long, they become almost caricatures of themselves as they go on. And that's a real danger with the paranormal programming, too. You don't want to become that joke. You're going to become a whatever show. You don't be like those guys, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think what would make our show, what does make our show different, obviously besides the fact that it's a scripted comedy, is that as we would go forward, we would invest more into the lives, and while there would definitely be like a monster of the week, and we would have different paranormal investigations with each episode, and some backstory peppered in, we'd get to know these characters more and the interpersonal relationships of them, and where they fit in within the paranormal community at large as well, and maybe they're they don't rank as highly as we might have perceived in the beginning. That maybe they're lower on the totem pole and trying to climb up. So yeah, we in order to like you say avoid that staleness, we would hopefully invest in the characters even more.
I'd love to see that, because they have the potential to be extremely deep characters.
For sure, yeah.
And
yeah,
so
thank you.
It would be a lot of fun to see them get fleshed out, so to speak, on the show, really flesh out who they are and where they come from, their backgrounds, their experiences. I think the show, sincerely, guys, has a real opportunity to have legs about it, to really go places.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate that.
So now the real question. This is all we really care about. All this was just preamble. What paranormal experiences have you guys had?
Ooh.
Love this question.
Carly, got any?
I think so. Okay, so I absolutely believe in ghosts, but independently, I'm very afraid of the dark. And I say independently because I'm not afraid of the idea of ghosts, but I find I think it's like when my senses are cloaked, I feel like an animal in the wilderness. I feel very scared. But I grew up when I was very little, I lived in an old farmhouse in New Jersey, and it was I think it was built in like 1780, and it had this very scary basement, and I never went to the basement because my oldest brother told me that one day he was in the basement and he fell asleep we had like a little like couch down there, and he fell asleep on the couch like under a blanket, and he looked down at his feet when he woke up, and he saw this like white hand trying to pull the blanket off of him.
That's not creepy at all. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you're wrong. It's so creepy. And truly, that is like, I mean, I know it's lame to be like, I want to talk about this, and then be like, one time my big brother said this, but I mean, that whole house to me became haunted in a very, like, you know, typical way of, like, my big brother told me a scary thing happened, and now I believe everything he says.
Yeah.
And then I've had experiences of, like, you know, like, in that same house, like, oh, I was hungry, and I went down to the kitchen, and, like, I thought I felt someone in the room with me, and then I looked, and I was alone. You know, just kind of like presences more than, like, actual apparitions, if you will.
Yeah. I get you. I know exactly what you're saying. It's the feeling of, and that's just as powerful as the scene sometimes, just the feelings as well. So,
yeah.
The hair on the back of your neck.
Exactly. You have an internal sensor that'll tell you that something weird is going on without even seeing it. So don't downplay that at all.
All right. So what about Andy?
You know, I can't speak to anything personally, but I will say that my wife, who plays Zorba on the show, one of the twins,
she's great.
She, thank you. I'll let her know. Her name's Joe Feldman. Follow her at Hello Joe Feldman on Twitter. Her family has a medium that they go to, and that medium that she's been to is Rebecca Rosen, who is now, like, on. I know I think she had her own show on like the LMN channel or Lifetime, one of the two.
Yeah.
And she definitely is of the mind that there are spirits calling out and trying to make contact, and so I'm definitely in touch with that as a concept, and she's from Rebecca has been, like, kind of made to feel like when she sees a spider, my wife unfortunately had a friend that passed away years ago, and she's now been able to, through Rebecca, tie memories of her friend and her friend reaching out to her when she sees a spider has been kind of
like a sign of her friend.
Yeah, a sign of her, like, saying like, hey, I'm here and I'm okay and you don't have to worry.
Does she kill the spider? Does she kill the spider after she sees it, or she let it go?
You know, she usually like takes it outside or something. Oh, okay. It's
as an ambassador from the other world, it's only fitting.
Nice to see you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that could be traumatic.
But
yeah, no, nothing personally. Just in close proximity to me.
Sure. You know. Go ahead.
What did you guys get hooked on the track that you're on?
I've been a radio for many, many, many years, since I was 16 years old. And I'm 44 now, so a few years I've been doing broadcasting. And I got really interested in the paranormal early on, like everybody else. Grew up in a haunted house, pretty much. Had my own personal experiences, were curious of what was going on with it. Got hooked up with some very notable paranormal investigators earlier on. Before the craze of the television shows began, so it was kind of easier back then because there was as much information clouding, you know, what you're learning. You're able to kind of go to the library and crack a book and read like what Hans Holzer said or what Brad Steiger or whoever said and be able to absorb it that way. Now it's just so much coming at you, it's hard to learn anything. But that's how I started, was a haunted house, a recorder and a camera in a graveyard, trying to figure out how this darn thing works, this paranormal.
I love that. Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, and Eric, of course, he kind of went over it. He's had his own personal experiences, quite a few of them, in fact.
Yeah, in a relatively short period of time. My issue at that point was I was from a fairly religious upbringing, Lutheran, and there was we were kind of that particular church when I was a kid was more conservative probably than your typical Lutheran, certainly the one that we go to now. But at that time, there was a fair amount of talk about, you know, demons and don't be deceived. And, you know, basically it's the Holy Trinity and the angels, and anything else, quote unquote, supernatural is the work of the devil. So I was very confused. You know, I'd had these experiences. They didn't really seem to have any particular, you know, religious implications. But I was afraid of it. Mm-hmm. So I had these very mixed feelings about it. Is this something apart from religion? Is there such thing that I didn't even know the term, paranormal when I was a kid?
Yeah.
Is there something that would be supernatural or uncanny, but not quote unquote religious? So that's part of why I think I shut things off, as I was becoming an adult, because I still had this lingering doubt about what are these things. I don't want to pursue this. I don't want to open the door to anything. I certainly don't want to get involved with demons. And so that's my background. And then, of course, I had this long gap and then kind of got back into it, as I said, through the TV show. So that's very kind of dispassionate. And for the most part, they exclude, religion from the equation. And I don't think that's entirely realistic either. I think you got to look at all the various possibilities, and there's a fair number of I don't know, what would you say, Joel, or maybe half of the investigators just really kind of hardcore atheists, and about half spiritual belief.
Yeah, you're right. There's probably a good 50-50 mix. There's those that believe, and those tend to be. The non-believers tend to be more your skeptics than the believers, of course. The people that have a strong belief in religion tend to be more favorably believe in ghosts, and vice versa. The ones that seem to lean on the atheist side or even the agnostic side are the ones that you're going to find out there more or less your skeptics. So, that's what I found anyhow in my dealings with the community.
Very cool.
So, that's...
Yeah,
but, yeah.
Theoretically, just to finish that up, it's not that exciting. We don't want to belabor it. My view of kind of the paranormal, / spiritual world, there's kind of three sides to a triangle. There's the quote-unquote paranormal, which would be some sort of quasi-scientific approach to these entities that are perhaps some form of energy. Then you have the religious aspect, which speaks for itself, and then you would have the scientific. And so that would be viewing, it from a cosmological point of view. Could ghosts have something to do with dark matter? Who knows? So that's how I view it, kind of these three sides to it, and you have to look at all three, and all three are very interesting, and I think they're more interrelated than people realize. And, that just may be something to think about as you're moving forward with the show, is coming at it from these different angles, because I think all of those are relevant.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the kind of thing, I think, to speak to your question earlier of, what are our plans moving forward, or how do we see this series developing, is, like Andy said, we want to really make sure we continue to honor the format of these shows and the voice of these shows, while also finding that nice balance of being able to have fun with those things.
Sure.
But like you just said, Eric, that's a big part of it for us.
Yeah, and there's a lot to go into that too. I've had ghosts follow me home. I've been in the room where someone was possessed. I have done all that stuff, and there's a lot of story material there to move forward with. So
what happens when your ghost follows you home? Like, what?
No, actually, I go to places and I will go investigate like a hardcore place or even just a normal mundane place, and actually the individual that notices whether or not something's following me home is my poor wife, because she'll see it in the middle of the night.
Oh, wow.
Like, she saw one standing by me at the bed going, yeah, something followed you home. It was the Palmer House we went to, which is one of the most haunted hotels in America. And I had something follow me back. And she said,
I don't know. The Palmer House in Chicago?
No, in Minnesota. It's in Sauk
gotcha.
Center. And she said, why were you standing up? I said, I wasn't standing up. And then later on, she noticed it wasn't me that was standing up. It was something.
And what do you do in that situation? Is there
you tell it to leave. Yeah, there's different things you can do. There's a lot of different things you can do, and generally they don't stick around too long once you tell them to get the hell out.
Yeah,
in my experience anyway, and that doesn't work for everybody.
You have to remember, the key is you have to remember you have a lot more power than they do, because you're alive and you're real and you have a physical presence. So you have a lot more force. You have a lot more juju than they do.
Juju.
And that, you need to remember that. Of course, a lot of the people, that's why it's kind of part of why I was talking about the religious aspect. A lot of ghost hunters, I mean, they use prayer. They varies and ritual to protect themselves, and cleansing rituals before and after. Yep. I mean, there's people who do every single time. Yep. They do prayers and rituals and very specifically to prevent themselves from being followed. Because, I mean, we've interviewed some of these guys. I mean, it's no joke. They come under oppression by whatever, whether you want to call it demonic or some sort of negative entity, whatever term you want to put on it.
Exactly.
And it absolutely impacts their entire lives.
It really does. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Boy, did this just blaze right by, Eric. Wow. Man, what a great show, by the way. Everyone check it out. Ghost Squad's the show, and that will be released October 1st, and you're going to want to check that out. It is a really funny watch. If you like comedy, you like paranormal, it's the perfect show for you. Check that out. Let us know. Tell your friends. Make sure everybody watches it. Till next time, everyone, take care of each other, love each other, and hey, keep on hunting. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.